Hi there, hello, Headley here, another fat bearded man talking about records. Um, as you can see, well, I don't know if as you can see, I'm in a horrible little sort of dormitory room because I'm working away from home again, um, and I don't have time when I go home on the weekend to do videos. So I thought I'd do another one here, which means I've carted a load of records along with me. So I thought I'd show you. I haven't made a video for a while, so look, even got a hairdryer. And a kettle in case I get thirsty. But I'm going to try and rattle through these because I've got quite a lot I want to show, and I kind of want to talk about them because there's very little point in just showing a record without any context whatsoever. So I'm going to head for it. So the first one. Now, nearly started. I very, very nearly started. I'm already on a minute. I can't believe I'm already on a minute. Right. So these are kind of a collection of stuff I've bought from charity shops, from record shops, from online. So there's a bit of everything, and I've mixed them all up so that there's a bit of diversity. So the first one I've got here is Clanks Tea. This is The Woman I Loved So Well. And Clanks Tea are an Irish folk group. Donald Looney, Andy Irvine, Irvin, and what's his face? Oh gosh, probably the most famous one I've forgotten. Christy Moore, of course, yes. And this is I think it's their fifth album. They did 3 albums in the early 70s and then disbanded, and then they came back with another one called After the Break, and this is the one after that. It's lovely stuff, traditional Irish folk, although for some reason there's something slightly Islamic about the image on that cover. And it's folk stuff, although it does have a song by Norman Blake, American folk guitarist and singer-songwriter. Nice one. Okay, I've been after this for a long time, and I've finally got it. It's Ringo Starr, Bukus of Blues. Now this is his second album, released in, was it 1970? And it's basically it's a country album, and I love it. It's my favourite of all of the Beatles, post Beatles or solo records anyway. Now apparently the history of this is that Ringo was playing on George Harrison's All Things Must Pass sessions, and while he was there he met a guy called Pete Drake, and Pete Drake played some steel guitar on the album for George Harrison, and because Ringo was such a big country fan, they got talking, and apparently Pete Drake, who was famous for playing on Bob Dylan's albums that he recorded in Nashville and various other artists, including George Harrison, obviously. And he said to Ringo that a bunch of his friends could write him an album in a week. And Ringo said, I don't think you can do that. And Pete Drake proved him wrong. And so they went over to Nashville. He originally wanted to record in London. They went over to Nashville and recorded this with a load of Nashville session players. Jerry Reed's on here, and there's a great picture of them all with Ringo there, and that's Pete Drake there, who's produced the album as well. So nice to get hold of that. Country music all the way. It's a good fun record. Talking about Pete Drake, I picked this up, and this is called Stars of the Steel Guitar on Star Day, or Gusto. It's in high fidelity. And this starts, I suppose the most interesting track on this is it starts with a Pete Drake tune, as it's called here, Pete Drake and his talking steel guitar. And what it is Pete Drake was a very early adapter and user and developer of the vocoder or the talk box. And what he does on this song, and he's got a whole album actually of it, where he, as it says here, the newest sound from the electric steel guitar comes from Pete Drake, and with a mouth attachment which enables him to create an echo type of music, just as though the steel guitar was actually doing the singing. Bit crazy. So early Peter Frampton, but on a pedal steel guitar. And who else it got? It's got Buddy Emmons, Leon McAuliffe, who was Bill Monroe's pedal steel, Little Roy Wiggins, Cecil Campbell, Shot Jackson, Jerry Bird, Walter Haynes. Nice instrumental country, and I like the Star Day label, even if it is an MCA. Right, okay, getting on. This is Grant Turner Remembers the Grand Ole Opry as it was then, and this is the Grand Ole Opry, and that is Grant Turner. And Grant Turner was known as the dean of the Grand Ole Opry announcers. This was released in 1980, I think this is. It's on CVS Records, not CBS, CVS. And basically what it is, it's Grant Turner telling you the history of the Grand Ole Opry and the Ryman Auditorium. Not much music on it, lots of talking, but if you're into the history of country music, really nice. Talking about the history of country music, George Jones, Colour of the Blues. I bought this from the same guy on a stall in Otley in Yorkshire, and I bought them both probably a quid each, I think. Now this is an interesting album because I don't know what the date of it is. It looks like it's probably somewhere around, I don't know, 75 to 78, something like that. And it's interesting because on the label, I don't know if you can see it, it says Special Collector's Edition. Now the album itself isn't included on Discogs, on his discography, his collection of albums. And I have a funny feeling that it's got the Nashville logo on here as well and on the label. And I kind of think what it is something that's actually been produced for sale specifically somewhere in Nashville as a kind of a keepsake for people who've been to Nashville and want to take something home with them. I might be wrong. I probably am. Okay, we've got Webb Wilder and the Beatniks. This is from I've written it down, 1988. Now, let me read my notes. Webb Wilder was actually called John McMurray, and he created this character, Webb Wilder, who was a time-travelling or lost in time 1950s backwoods private detective and country singer, a bit like Kinky Friedman, if you anyway, never mind. And it's a kind of a weird, it's kind of cowpunk, it's a mixture of rock and roll, rockabilly, surf music, a bit Dwayne Eddy here and there, twangy guitar, and sort of country all over. Kind of a bit of a new wavy feel to it as well. Nice stuff, and it's got an interesting inner where it says Webb Wilder in no way endorses or wishes to be associated with the evil or the occult. However, at certain levels of human interaction, it's not uncommon to find oneself lost in an emotional rainforest of romance and ritual, where the night drums talk and the darkness simply can't be avoided. Be informed that some of the program material on this audio disc reflects such situations, and that many of the characters in these songs have held the monkey's paw in one form or another and gone on to regret it. Just remember the Webb Wilder credo: work hard, rock hard, eat hard, sleep hard, grow big, wear glasses if you need to. Thank you for your attention. I like that. Crazy stuff. So yeah, nice stuff. Now, this was a disappointment. This is the Deadly Nightshade, and it's called F&W, and that is funk and western. And this is from 1976, and it's on the Phantom label. Not the thing. On the Phantom label, nice ringware. And I thought it looked interesting, knew nothing about them at all. And I picked it up because the funk and western, unfortunately, it's not very funky and it's not very western. Apparently, the Deadly Nightshade were one of the earliest all-female rock acts that were signed. So they're actually a quite important band, and there's been a lot written about them in, well, not a lot written, but they've been written about in developments of sort of post-feminist music. And yeah, so they stand out. Unfortunately, the album's not very good. As I said, it's a bit middle of the road. It's you know, bits of it are country rock, bits of it are rock. It's got a cover of, oh, what is it? What's it called? Oh, hang on. Dancing in the Street. It's that weird thing where it actually doesn't say it has it on the back, which is a bit funky. I'll give it that, but it's not that good. This might be being sent out to someone out there. I don't know. You might enjoy it more than I'd have. Okay, 11 minutes. This is the Hot Mud Family, Stone Mountain Wobble. I like the look of that. This is a group that are kind of folky bluegrass. Yeah, there's not really much more. It's on a label called Vetco, which is quite nice. Yeah, from 1974. Yeah, nice stuff. Like I said, bluegrassy folk string band music. Similarly, from 1980 is the Juggernaut string band, Greasy Coat. This is on Wildebeest Records. And yeah, it's again, it's kind of folky, bluegrassy, as you can see. Look at the instruments. You know what you're going to get, and you generally get it. And yeah, it's nice. I like to get these sort of small press folk records. Next up, Dick Feller. This is Dick Feller wrote, and probably most famous for as a writer of other people's songs. And on here we have probably the most famous is Lord Mr. Ford, which Jerry Reed would get a hit with. Yeah, there's also on here New Orleans Parish Prison, and that Johnny Cash covered, and Any Old Wind That Blows, which Johnny Cash covered and actually named an album after. It's good stuff. It's kind of, I like him. He's country, but he's not too country-fied. He's a bit folky. He's a bit, yeah, going a bit Guy Clark, that kind of stuff, but maybe a bit more country. Really good kind of witty songwriter. They're all sort of slightly amusing or slightly witty. And there's some funky guitar picking and stuff like that on here. Really nice. Now, as a sort of a side note, Dick Feller, there's not really much to see on the back. Dick Feller is no longer a fella. He is apparently trans. What was the word? Oh, this is really bad now. I had this. He's now known as Dina K. Rose. So he's now he is a she, and she is an outspoken voice for trans rights, and she lectures about her experience at trans. What's the word I'm after? It's not transforming, but becoming a woman. And so it's interesting, and it's a great album. So there you go, and an interesting character. Bill Monroe and his son James Monroe together again. This is from 1978 on MCA. It's bluegrass. It's in its shrink. No, it isn't. I think it might be a promo. It's got a printing across it. So yeah, that's good. I'm going to stop right there. This is a rather long video and nobody wants to listen to me prattle on for half an hour. So I'm going to stop it and do a second video, a part 2. Oh, cat's just landed on me. Say hello to the nice people, cat. Okay, right, here we go. So yeah, so if you want to, you can stop the video here and go away and watch my next part whenever you want. Or, if you want to, you can click straight to it and continue. So maybe I'll see you there. What do you say, Woofy? Say goodbye. Bye-bye.